This is why I'm watching.
That's at the time of day to 11 o'clock. So, I'm hoping that people actually get better FPS in this patch because, interestingly enough, our old water that we were using, some people were saying on the tester branch that they actually got better FPS in this new water than they did before, which would be pretty interesting. But we're going to have to see what people have to say once they're on the server. That's one of the reasons we're running these tests, by the way, is to make sure people are able to run the game okay, and that nothing bad really happens. We did pull the save file on Official 2, so that means if any of y'all have creatures saved on Official 2, you can go ahead and see if they're here. And that's important because, you know, there really isn't any reason why the save file would have a problem. The last patch, coming into this patch, we haven't really changed the format of anything saving related, and stuff's, you know, should be fine. But we always like to test it anyways, because there was that one update back in May 18th, where we pushed out a hot fix and broke the egg saves. So ever since then, we have been super, like, cautious about making sure stuff transfers over to new patches, just because we don't want to accidentally break things. Looks like Knight is saying they're having more FPS than before. Quidstar is saying they have 10 to 20 less. I don't know how someone could have 50 more. Neophilus is saying they're having more. Guys, if you're tuned into the stream right now, I don't know how many people are tuned into the stream and chat, but if you are not getting better FPS, you might want to check your graphic settings, because sometimes when you bump up to the public testing branch, it does change your graphic settings. Shadows, in particular, are really bad. And I will say that to view the underwater caustics, you do need to have your shadows turn. Oh wow, I'm in a huge group. Hi, Cluster. You're over here. Let me teleport to you.
There you are.
I see that people are already finding the glory of the tooth call. It seems to be one of the trolliest animations / sound effects in the entire game. And it's basically a laugh. So, Cluster, do you want to go ahead and showcase the Tropeo Nathis calls real quick over here with me?
Sure, let me float on over to you and we can go do this real quick.
Okay. So I do want to mention one thing, Cluster, if you go ahead and look straight down at the water right here around where I am, you'll notice that the water is really pretty and really tropical. Now, I do want to mention that shadows, this is actually an Unreal 4 thing. So the water caustics, and you might have noticed this with our freshwater bodies as well, are what's called a light material function. And light material functions do not work unless shadows are enabled. So you won't see those really pretty looking things on the bottom of the seafloor unless you have your shadows on. Now, if you turn them off, it still looks nice, but you know, if you're wondering why those might be missing on your screen, that is one of the reasons.
Yep.
It's literally a laugh. So, Tropeo is the fastest flyer in the game. So, you actually, I can go ahead and talk a little bit about the Tropeo balance in a minute. I'll go ahead and show its calls first. I love its 3 call. Very, very interesting. Its 3 call is very pissed off. So we got our 3 right here. We got our 2, if you want to mock your opponent. We've got our 1 call. It's a pretty standard broadcast. It's got a pretty threatening display of its wings here, displaying out its entire body, trying to look as big as possible. And then we have our 4 and 5 calls right here. They're pretty subtle. Here's our submissive call. And then we've got our distress, which is kind of just a bird that looks scared. So, I like all of its calls. I think they've got some good character. The 2 one's probably my favorite. I really like the 3 as well. Take the swiftness talent and the nimble footing talent up at the top of the tree on the speed tree.
Yeah.
go. You're like the second fastest land animal in the game. You go pretty quick. Only Megalo is faster than you. So did you just take those talents?
Yeah, I've got them. I'm right now running around, and I've actually got an inherent nimble, so...
Perfect. So you can see that he's quite fast. Tropeo's actually not a bad ground fighter. So Tropeo is not a bad ground fighter, and what you can do with Wing Beat, if you use Wing Beat, is you can actually kind of eject yourself from the fight and knock the other player away for a while. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
So see how he did that?
Yep.
So like, let's say you were behind another player, and you're trying to bite them in the butt a bunch of times with your beak and kill them, and then all of a sudden you start realizing they're turning on you, and you're going to lose the circle, and they're going to hit you with a bite. You can go ahead and Wing Beat them and knock yourself away and fly up. I actually love doing that. Yeah, we did buff Lurdu. We gave Lurdu a few buffs. So they're not crazy buffs. I think we buffed its HP a bit, I believe, is the big one. There's two other things we changed about the Lurdu as well. We gave it a pretty substantial increase to how fast it goes up hills, by the way. So that's nice for the Lurdu. There's a few other things I think have been mentioned regarding, changing some of the stuff regarding the semi-aquatics. Testers want you to change the, how good they are on the land versus on the water, but we're not going to actually make any more balance changes right now for this patch, because we're too close to deploying this patch to the public, and we don't really like to make a lot of... How rude!
They are trying to get you off that hill.
I'm trying to knock me off the cliff. I'm trying to talk and... go ahead and try and release the toxic behavior, but if it goes unreported, we're not going to know about it.
Yep.
So your best bet to do is go ahead and just report the toxic behavior, and a moderator should get online and go ahead and take care of it. Yeah, the Tropeo is faster, but it's also got a worse turn radius by far. Remember though, in a lot of larger animals that fly do end up going faster. I mean, how fast does a hawk fly compared to a butterfly, for example? Yeah, I'm kind of just keeping up with chat right now, answering stuff that people say.
Yeah, would you mind me showing some of the new stuff with Ori?
Absolutely. Oh, yes, that's a fantastic idea. Because, I've seen a lot of questions go by, and I feel bad I haven't answered them yet. But I haven't had the time to answer them.
I meant to bring that up earlier, but I really didn't want to interrupt. You're going on. You're going great. It's all.
I also went to Tranodon, so if you guys wanted, we could compare the turn radius difference between Tranodon and Tropeo. Because when people think that, oh, well, Tropeo's not as agile, that doesn't account for very much because it's faster, you don't understand. Like, Tranodon can literally turn on an actual dime. So, like, if you watch me,
yep,
like,
there
Tropeo cannot do this. You cannot get behind me. But I can get behind the Tropeo. So be very careful, because if I had to describe this matchup, it's like Rex versus Velo.
You would have
you gotta get away from the you gotta get away, and then you gotta circle back, because if you let me stay behind you, you're gonna die.
I remember last time we tried to do one of these tests, we had this horrible problem happen. This was a total nightmare. We found that one of our textures that we were using on the burrow material would crash certain clients if they looked at it. Do you remember that bug?
Oh yes, I remember that. That was a headache, and it took rebuilding the material, if I remember correctly.
We did change a little bit about the Packy. In general, the Packy does hit a little harder than it used to, but it also has a longer cooldown on its attacks. We did increase how quickly the Packy can go up slopes. Actually, that might have been the previous patch that we did that change. We did a little bit of Packy changes. It's certainly... We did some Packy versus Tropeo fights. It's a little hard on the Packy, but we did some balance changes to the Packy, and it went a little bit better the second time around.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Tropeo's scary for Packy. Like, definitely do not want to openly engage them if you can avoid it. They are pretty scary for the Packy. But we did change the Packy a little bit to give it a little bit more favor here. It's not quite as bad as it was the first time.